Hey everyone, back again. We are on day 4 already of the Mindful 30-day challenge. I hope you're following along. I hope you have your workbook. Today we're talking about limiting beliefs. We've talked about setting our intentions to get us focused. We've talked about gratitude to get us grounded in positivity. We've talked about self-affirmations to really think about the things that we want for ourselves, that we want to believe about ourselves. Today I dive a little bit deeper because a lot of times limiting beliefs prevent us from being able to even repeat those self-affirmations, because limiting beliefs are constraints that we put upon ourselves that we developed over the course of our life with the experiences that we had from people, from situations, and they unfortunately are very often rooted in self-doubt, in insecurities, and in our fears from things, again, that we have experienced. They become these invisible constraints, and they create a negative outlook and a negative perspective and filter that we really use to look at the entire world with. And it's almost as if we're looking for evidence to continue to validate those limiting beliefs, as opposed to understanding that they were created at a time when we were more emotionally immature or going through something very difficult that we hadn't been able to let go of. So liberating yourself from these limiting beliefs is so incredibly important. It requires us to be self-aware, it requires us to be reflective, and it requires us to look for evidence that contradicts them, because often I think if you look back, you'll be able to understand and realize that some of the things you hold on to were imposed by someone else or generated, again, at a time when you felt more insecure about yourself, and you realize that you have more potential now. You had it then, but you really realize now, wow, I don't need to think that way anymore. So that is what limiting beliefs do. That's how they control us. That's how they hold us back. And we're going to do an activity today to help you change and shift them, reframe them, and move forward. Follow me in the next video, like this one, subscribe, do whatever you need to do to make sure that you see this next video, because you're going to walk through the exercise with me. I'll see you on the other side. Day 4 of the 30-day mindful challenge. I hope you're following along with me. I've got the workbook here and I'm ready to do page 4, which is letting go of limiting beliefs. And what I told you in the previous video, if you haven't watched it, go watch it really quick, is that letting go of limiting beliefs first starts with self-awareness. So I'm walking through this with you. This is an opportunity for me to kind of show you my process and what I hope you can kind of do to reflect and figure out your own path on this mindful journey. I'm going to come up with one limiting belief right now, just for time's sake, but I've really worked on a lot of these over the years, because as a therapist, that's what you do, is you work on your brain all the time. So I know where some of these come from, but my main limiting belief that I have been challenged with my entire life, it asks, this is the worksheet here, is that I am not good enough. And you know, there have been times where it has held me back from trying new things. There have been times where I've started something, and the minute I get some sort of critique, I will kind of close myself off and leave a situation or stop doing something. And it's because if that belief is there and I inherently believe it, it's going to be pretty easy to get triggered again. There's a whole science behind our automatic reactions to things in our brain when we are triggered by something, and neural pathways that have been carved out from when we were very young. I know where this comes from, so I'm going to walk through the rest of the sheet with you, but just know that oftentimes these things get triggered in present day, but they started years and years and years ago. So the next step is, now that you've identified some of the limiting beliefs, it's time to challenge them. Ask yourself the following questions about each negative phrase or thought. Is the thought or phrase based on fact or assumption? I know that I used to dance, and I talked about this in another video, and we used to get these critique videos or audio tapes back after we've danced, and they were pretty brutal. And you know, I wish that there were some more guidelines put into place and structure put into place when dancing coaches were critiquing young women in dance competitions. But at the time I was very, very young. It's going back 40 years ago, 45 years ago. so that I don't think people really thought about how they were impacting someone. You know, when an 8 or 10-year-old or 12-year-old is hearing that, you know, that they don't look good physically or they're not good enough. And it wasn't about the dancing, because that I could improve. I couldn't change my body, and that's what oftentimes I was being critiqued on. So it was based on someone else's opinion, and I took it as fact. And it took me a long time to overcome that and realize that someone else's opinion has nothing to do with me. And so I believe that it was not based in fact, but based on someone else's assumption of who I am. So I'm going to write down, it was based on not someone else's assumption, but someone else's perception, right? Which isn't important for me. You know, someone else's perception of me isn't me. That's them looking at me. So I'm going to say that it's based on someone else's perception. And is the thought or phrase helpful or harmful? When I have a reaction and I think I'm not good enough, or I have to stop doing this because I'm just going to mess it up, or I don't have the right to do this because I'm not good enough, it's definitely harmful, and it feels terrible. And I would get deflated all the time in doing these things. So I would definitely say that it is harmful. And what evidence do I have to support or contradict it? I have so much evidence. I made a human with my body. I can run, not long marathons because I haven't trained for them, but I can run, 5K marathons. I can walk, I can laugh, I can cook, I can dance. There's so many amazing things I can do with my body. And the look of my body is not my defining value. And it is not the thing that states or dictates whether I'm okay or good enough, or whether I'm bad or not good enough. And so I have lots of statements that make better sense, that I know are more logical in my world. And so based on that, step number 3 is to now rewrite a more accurate or limiting belief about yourself for each of the ones above. So I am not good enough. I am okay as I am. I am amazing. I am able to do all that I want to do. I love those 3 things. I'm going to write those down. I am okay as I am. I am amazing. And I am able to do all that I want to do, that I want and need to do. Okay. So this is my worksheet. Now, I don't just close the book and walk away. I'm going to reflect on this. I'm going to read it. And then anytime I get triggered throughout a day where I think that limiting belief is coming up, I'm going to remind myself. And maybe these become one of my mantras that I talked about yesterday. Maybe this becomes, maybe I start saying to myself, I'm amazing, in the mirror every single morning, so that I can convince this old pattern that this newer one is more accurate. I hope you try it. I know that I feel better when I do these things, and I will see you next time. See you tomorrow. What's 5? What's day 5? Day 5 is mindful breathing. We're going to do a breathing exercise, and I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of it as well. Thanks so much. Have a great day.